I'm upset, angry, mad, frustrated, and that is an absolutely brilliant way of starting a vlog. This is why I'm upset. All my footage from last week is gone. So I wanted to make the vlog. I've tried everything to get it, but the SD card that it's all down to has broken down. I tried to recover them and it's just not working. And that's kind of upsetting because I really wanted to make a great vlog for you and make some good footage from a conference where I was talking about stakeholder management and a few days of training, and I did a lot of interesting stuff last week, and I talked about trust, but I will take the trust issue up next week. So this week I wanted to do something else. I wanted to talk about organizations and how that we try to organize organizations into what we normally use as logic. And maybe logic and emotions doesn't always add up. So why is it that sometimes hierarchical organizations doesn't work, and why do they work, and all these things, when we put them under pressure, why do people think in silos and all that? I wanted to look at that this week. And last year when I was working on trying to make these vlogs, I made some test vlogs, and one of the vlogs I did was interviewing a nice guy in Randers regnskov, the artificial rainforest in Randers, or Randers tropical zoo, whatever we want to call it. And he's a biologist, chief biologist up there, and he talked to me about tribes and how tribes work. And we had a very interesting talk, and I want to share that talk with you. So come with me to last year in the summer, and it's in Randers, north of here. Please join me. I just found this nice young gentleman.
Hello there.
It's Asa. Asa, you are a biologist?
Yes.
And you work at the rainforest?
Yes, I do.
It's called
Randers regnskov.
Yes, but it's called Randers regnskov tropical zoo.
Yes, indeed.
So I'm gonna talk to Asa about tribes and how tribes work and how tribes could work in organizations or don't work in organizations. So are you ready for that, Asa?
Yes, indeed.
Let's do it. So you just told me that if we film from down and up,
Yeah.
you think we are kind of dominating.
Yeah, well, that's a typical journalistic trick to make people look arrogant and domineering. Yeah.
So now I'm arrogant. You are as well.
Yes. Hello.
Cool. Hi, we're the arrogant couple.
Yeah.
So we're gonna talk about tribes.
Yes.
And if we look at communities in Indian communities in the southern part of South America, what is the size of a tribe?
Well, actually, that depends very much on the environment. But that's one of the things that I find terribly interesting about human beings in our history, is that our culture is shaped by the environment where we exist. So, for example, if we take South America, go back a couple of thousand years, and the tribes, the size of the tribes that you were going to find in the western part of the Amazon is going to be very different than the size of the tribe that you're going to find in the eastern part. Because in the eastern part of the Amazon, way out towards the Atlantic Ocean, you have the Amazon that goes up, but it goes down, and there's a huge annual variation in the amount of water in the Amazon, which means that every year the water comes and it leaves a whole bunch of sediments out there, which means that you're going to get a very fertile ground. It's possible to have agriculture. Whereas in the western part of the Amazon, right up against the Andes, you have a very small amount of nutrients in the ground, which means that it's very difficult to actually live there. This means that the cultures that you're going to see in the eastern part of the Amazon is going to be very different from the ones that you're going to see in the western parts. For example, we all know about headhunters, right? People that they live in tribes and they hunt each other. It's the quintessential Amazonian tribes. They wage war against each other, cut each other's heads off, and take out the cranium and boil their heads and make these little shrinking heads. Very classic thing, very terrible thing. Which of course is a way of showing dominance towards the other tribes. You only find that in the western part of the Amazon, where life is harsh. And this is because exactly life is harsh. There is not enough nutrients available for people to actually live in very large tribes. Whereas in the eastern part of the Amazon, because you have this annual fluctuation, you have the Amazon River that's going to bring a whole lot of sediments, making the ground fertile for agriculture, you're going to be able to have all sorts of different crops, which allows people to actually create a surplus of energy. This allows people to coexist. So we have found evidence of people. I say we. I have not been a part of it myself.
But you can take the honor. That's okay.
Okay, I'll take the honor. We have found evidence of groups of up to about 2,000 people living together. Whereas in the western part of the Amazon, the usual number of people living together is between 20 and 50. Because if you have more than 50 people, it's not possible for people to survive. There's not enough food. We see the same thing in apes. In orangutan, for example. The orangutan that live on Borneo are very solitary animals. They don't accept each other, and if they meet each other, they're going to beat each other up. So they don't like living together. Whereas in Sumatra, they live quite closely together in higher densities. Why? Well, because there's a lot more fruit available for them on the island of Sumatra. And humans are not different than that. Our culture, our acceptance of each other depends on the amount of resources
available.
Yeah.
So if we're in an organization makes it difficult to be in because of bad leadership or whatever, we will see rivalry.
We're going to compete against each other and take off each other's heads.
Oh, cool.
And boil them.
Yeah. Oh, I still need to see that, but so there is a problem with creating bigger and greater organizations unless we give them the resources needed to be together.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a very basic thing. Besides from that, there's another thing that we have to take into account. Because we are ancestrally, primarily we've been living in fairly small groups. Before agriculture was invented, say 10,000 years ago, we lived in quite small groups. So our basic biology, our emotional biology, which is basically a blueprint for behavior, of course, is not very well adapted to huge numbers of faces, a huge number of people that you have to relate to. You have to remember all the time, we're always looking, scientists have actually mapped out about 3,000 different micro-expressions in our faces, which is a lot more than in chimpanzees and in dogs, for example. They wag their tail, we do like this with our faces, and we send signals to each other in that way. So the thing is, our brain is constantly seeking to understand our intentions. I'm always looking at your face and I'm trying to figure out when you're doing like this, what does that mean? And this is aggression and this is happiness and so on. And our brain is always trying to read the intentions of each other. And this takes a shitload of energy. Yeah. This takes a lot of energy. And people have claimed, scientists have claimed that the amount of facial expressions that you're going to see during one day in the life of a modern human being is more than what you're going to see in an entire lifetime for one of our ancestors. Which of course means that it's a stressful thing to relate to a whole lot of people.
So when you say that, do you then mean that the online communities where we are not connected that way, we can actually stay behind our screens and don't see each other? Is that better for us, or is it worse?
No, I don't think it's better for us per se. I think it's easier. That's something different. Yeah. And just like sugar is very easy for us we want to eat sugar because it's very fast, very available energy. So we have a tendency, our biology tells us, go at it, eat some more sugar, it's good for you. But in the amount that we're going to be able to get in modern day society, it's not good for us. Same thing with interactions online. It might be tasty and we might want more of it, but that doesn't mean that it's actually good for us.
Okay.
So we can actually get really stressed out if we are very sensitive, and of course it's different how sensitive people are to facial expressions. That can be very stressful if you have to relate to a lot of people every day.
Okay. So you're saying that if we live in a harsh environment, we will become competitive.
Yes.
And tough against each other. Have difficulties being in the big community.
Less,
Yeah.
less trust.
Less trust.
Yeah.
And we know from studies that trust is actually an issue going forward for organizations to grow.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't need to grow man size, but economically they would like to grow. So is it a good idea to say that in organization we have a small tribe staying here, small tribe staying there? Will that create silos, or will there be ways of interacting, or what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm definitely no expert on the business side of these things, but biologically speaking, I would say that it would be better to keep people in relatively small teams, because then people can, just trust each other and work efficiently together. Whereas if you have to relate to 300 people every day, it's going to be difficult for you to know if you're a part of a group that you can actually that you can trust. So biologically speaking, I would say that we are best adapted to relatively small group sizes. There's a number that I've heard that the best group, the maximum group size is somewhere in the vicinity of 140. 140 people that you can actually say, okay, I'm part of this group. As soon as if you go to 1,000, well, you can't. Your brain can't conceive of all of that. But 140 is apparently somewhere in the vicinity of what our brains are able to understand.
Thank you. So I think that we in organizations should think very hard about what kind of environment are we creating, and what kind of organizational sizes are we having, and how should we work between the tribes, if we call them small tribes, and how do we work together. I think that's going to be key in the future organizations. Thank you very much, Andersen. This is a brilliant place. I just love being here. It's amazing to be close to the animals and see how it works, and the people up here extremely skilled. They like to talk about what they're doing. They like to share, and they're so nice.
Yes.
I hope you enjoyed the vlog. I hope you enjoyed the interview with Asa, and hopefully we will have more interviews as we go along. Actually, we will, because next week we're going to talk about me and anxiety in Randers, but that's something else. And if you enjoyed it, then please like, please subscribe, please share it with the entire world if you so desire. The most important thing is that we create a community where we can talk about leadership now and in the future. See you in the next vlog.